Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
On today's show, Model 3 gets a tow hitch.
Fiat Chrysler's going to give Tesla a lot of money.
Model 3 is back on the top 10 list.
That and more next on episode 140 of Tesla Time News
On Now You Know. Brought to you as always by
our amazing, wonderful Patreons who make this show possible every week.
And sponsored by our friends at the solar-powered hotel in Schaumburg, Illinois, the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott.
This is the only solar-powered hotel in the Chicago area.
And brought to you by our friends at EcoWare. Go to ecoware.us. We upload new designs every week, including, we're wearing 2 new designs this week. Check these out. And EcoWare has so much more than just t-shirts, including like sweatshirts, pillows, tapestries, stickers.
And this is all carbon negative. And it plants a tree for every order. And it helps support Now You Know.
All right, so last week, Tesla updated the Model 3 online configurator in Europe to add a tow hitch option.
Woo! This is exciting, and I think that it is especially important that it's for Europe.
Yeah.
And I think that there is one reason why it is so important for Europe.
Okay.
And that is Europeans don't generally buy pickup trucks.
No.
They have little cars with tow hitches on them.
Yep.
And they put little trailers on them. And they use that like a pickup truck for when they need to haul stuff. So now the Model 3 is going to have that option.
It's going to cost 970 pounds, which is about $1,250, and it's going to be available throughout Europe. It's just appeared on the configurator. It's a high-strength steel tow bar with a removable adapter, capable of towing up to 910 kilograms, which is about 2,000 pounds. So this isn't going to be able to pull, the 5,000 pounds that a Tesla Model X can pull, but it's going to be fine for small trailers and hitches that carry things like ski racks.
Right.
And bike racks.
Now, unfortunately, according to the configurator, Tesla cannot retrofit. So
Yes.
for everyone who's bought a Model 3, including myself, including everyone else who's bought a Model 3, you can't get it retrofitted to add a tow hitch to your car.
Right, at least not by Tesla.
Not by Tesla. There might be third parties that will actually be able to do this, but probably not in the nice way that Tesla's going to do it with the adapter and everything like that. Speaking of adapters,
Yeah?
Tesla is now offering a CCS adapter.
Oh, for the Model S and X?
Yes. So this is for new Model S and X's made after May 1st, 2019, are compatible with Tesla's new CCS adapter, which is being sold for 170 euros, which is about 190 US dollars.
Yep. Tesla says all Tesla Model S and X vehicles produced after May 1st, 2019 have the technical ability to charge at CCS Combo 2 charging sites with the use of the CCS Combo 2 adapter.
Now, for those of you who are not aware of what the CCS Combo 2 is or CCS is, basically it is a different form of DC fast charging, which by and large most electric cars use if they have fast charging. It's between CCS and CHAdeMO. So there's basically these two ones. CCS I think is slightly more popular. It depends on the area. They're pretty neck and neck.
In Europe, it's definitely more popular.
Yeah.
So for existing owners, Tesla says that starting June 1st, it will offer a CCS Combo 2 retrofit service, which will include the CCS adapter for 500 euros. So no word yet about US and Canada, other than that they will make sure that owners in North America will have access to all compelling networks.
But they have nothing to announce now. So let's talk about this for a second. So if you've bought a Model S or X before May 1st, 2019, let's say you got your hands on one of these adapters, some black market deal, and you plug in, it won't work.
Right.
They have to change some of the wiring behind the face of the car.
Right.
To allow it to work. So that's what that 500 euros is for. It's, both for the adapter, which we know costs 170 euros, and then all of this service work that actually needs to happen behind the scenes. So it's interesting. They actually have changed sort of the charging structure of the Tesla in order for it to work. It's cool that they can retrofit. Now, they don't offer any in the United States yet.
Right.
And they said compelling networks.
The
What
only
counts as
network I can think of that they'd be talking about would be the Electrify America CCS network that's slowly going in and should have about 500, they say, by the summer. But maybe they don't mean it's compelling enough and that they're not going to offer it. I have no idea. So according to the Financial Times, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, FCA, has said it will pay electric car maker Tesla close to 2 billion euros to help it meet tough new emission targets, and has reported a 29% drop in first quarter profits. So it looks like Fiat is going to need to pay 1.8 billion euros to buy CO2 credits to meet the European regulations of 95 grams of CO2 per kilometer. Basically, I guess the European regulations allow this, but they're basically making a deal with Tesla to be able to count Tesla's cars as part of their fleet, which would allow them to get in under the regulations.
And I mean, this is sort of similar to ZEV credits in the United States, that sort of regulation, which was almost more set up towards a Tesla kind of company, one that would have a much lower, in Tesla's case, an extremely low emissions profile, which means that they would have a lot of these credits, which then they could sell to the automakers, which just made gas guzzling vehicles.
Now, I'm kind of surprised about this because we talked about it a few weeks ago in the news that Chrysler was going to be buying credits. We didn't hear any numbers this big, 2 billion euros, $2 billion range. Why wouldn't Fiat just pay the regulators their fine for not complying, rather than pay a competitor to get in on the fleet numbers?
Right. I'm guessing that the fee to the regulators was going to be more than $2 billion. I think that's pretty much a standard, obvious statement, but I guess they just wanted to save money. But again, if you're giving money to your competitor, I mean, maybe they don't see Tesla as a competitor. Maybe they just see them as a friendly company that just happens to have a lot of these,
I'm just kind of in shock because, I mean, they're a major auto manufacturer.
Right.
This is not something that just came up last Tuesday. This is something they've known about for months, if not years.
Right.
And so for them to have not had a good plan in place, and that their plan is now to just pay their competitor billions
$2 billion,
right. Which, I mean, that's going to go straight to Tesla's bottom line.
Right.
So that's fantastic news for Tesla. And the good news also is that it's going to give FCA an incredible incentive to make their own EVs, because they can't keep doing this.
I feel like they already had the incredible incentive to make their own EVs. If $2 billion is the least they can pay, which I'm assuming, I assume they don't want to give money to Tesla. So $2 billion is the least they can get away with. Why wouldn't you take that $2 billion some time ago, since you knew this was going to happen, right, this day would come, and just invest it? Just say, okay, let's make some kind of car that will meet the regulations, that will lower our fleet emissions.
I don't believe they thought this was going to happen the way it turned out. I think they went on an alternate path, and they thought that EVs was not going to be as big a thing as it is. Or
sure, maybe not EVs, but a little more research into more efficient engines, a little bit more research into hybrid.
It shows what these companies are all about. They're not about innovation. They're about making models of cars every year and just pumping billions of dollars into advertising to get them sold. That they're not doing what Tesla is doing.
Right.
It's hard for us to wrap our heads around, because we look at a company like that and we go, well, they have engineers, don't they? And they have smart people, but that's not what they're built to do. They're built to just make ICE cars. So get this fact I just came across. It took 40 years in the United States to get to its first 1 million solar installations in the country.
Okay, 40 years.
Yeah.
Gee, is this counting from the first solar installation?
Yeah, like back to the 70s. And so the United States got to 1 million installations in 2016, and that's when Tesla Time News started. Now, since the 3 years that we've had Tesla Time News, there have been 1 million more U.S. installations of solar. So we now have 2 million solar installations in the country.
So the first million took 40 years, and the second million took 3.
Yep. Yeah, take a look at this chart here. And
Wow.
as you're seeing, the cumulative growth is pretty darn fast. So the U.S. now has 70 gigawatts of solar power generation installed.
Awesome. And I just want to explain this graph for a second real quick. So you can see that the bars seem to go up, and then they kind of level off. They go down a little bit and level off.
Yeah, right around 2016.
Keep in mind that these are new installations of solar panels. So then that yellow line that comes right across, that's the cumulative number of solar installations.
Yeah.
Which means that how many solar installations there are. And you can see how fast it begins to grow. That even though it seems like we've sort of leveled off in terms of solar installations, the number of solar installations keeps growing.
Right. And now if we look at this second graph here, this is kind of an interesting little infographic where it shows how quickly things are changing. So take a look at this. This shows the top 5 states in the United States over time. So starting in 2010, California was number 1, and it's still number 1. But look at how the other states have jockeyed for position, and how little old Massachusetts, which is our home state, wasn't even in the mix until 2018, and now we're the number 5 in the nation. Now, granted, we only have 1/10 of the solar installations as California, but California has got a population of 40 million people, and we've only got a population of 7 million. So what's cool here is if you look at California starting in 2010, they had less solar installations than we do now in Massachusetts. It shows you today. Yeah. So it shows you how fast things are growing and changing. And I mean, Massachusetts, you don't normally think of Massachusetts as a sunny state.
Right. Because, I mean, Arizona and California, those are both pretty darn sunny states. But some states that I miss, I wish would be on the list. Nevada.
Yep.
Texas.
Utah.
Florida.
Yep.
The Sunshine State.
Oklahoma.
I mean, right. These are some places that get a lot of sun.
Yeah.
And they're completely missing from this chart. I think it's pretty sad that Massachusetts, way up in New England, has more solar installations than larger states with larger populations and larger land areas and better sun exposure.
And look at this. 2.4% of the residences in California have solar panels on their roof, which is fantastic, but it's only 2.4%.
Right.
Massachusetts, we only have 1.3%.
Right.
So there's so much room for improvement here. So Workhorse is a company based in Cincinnati, Ohio that will soon be producing the W15 PHEV pickup truck.
So this is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, PHEV. Mm-hmm. It'll have an 80-mile battery electric range.
Okay.
And that'll be a 60 kilowatt-hour battery.
Okay.
Nice large size battery. It'll cost $52,000.
Wait, so it only has 80 miles of range?
And then it has a gas range extender.
Oh, okay.
So then it becomes that's where the hybrid part comes in.
Gotcha.
You actually have a gas engine to get you further than 80 miles. But 80 miles is nothing to scoff at in terms of a PHEV.
And you got rid of range anxiety, so okay.
Right.
Yep.
It'll have a 0 to 60 of 5.5 seconds. It'll have two 230 horsepower motors. That's 172 kilowatts. One on each axle. It'll have towing capacity of 5,500 pounds, which is 2,500 kilograms, and 2,200 pounds. That's 1,000 kilogram payload.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think these specs are pretty awesome.
Yeah, so the reason we're talking about Workhorse right now is that, GM just said this last week. GM said today in its discussions with Workhorse Group Incorporated and an affiliated newly formed entity to sell the company's Lordstown complex in Lordstown, Ohio. The move has the potential to bring significant production and electric vehicle assembly jobs to the plant. Upon final agreement, the entity, led by Workhorse founder Steve Burns, would acquire the facility. Workhorse would hold a minority interest in the new entity. Now, Burns said the first vehicle we would plan to build if we were to purchase the Lordstown complex would be a commercial electric pickup blending Workhorse's technology with Lordstown's manufacturing expertise. Yeah, so we've been reporting on this Lordstown GM plant basically being shuttered, waiting for a potential buyer. Here's a potential buyer. Now, what I'm not clear about is it doesn't sound like Workhorse is buying the plant outright. It sounds like this new company is being formed where Workhorse is going to have a minority interest in it. Doesn't say who the other members of this company are. I'm assuming they're GM.
I'm assuming they're GM as well. It's funny that they keep referring to it as like an entity, as if it's like some kind of mythical
Well, I think the reason for this
creature.
is GM does not want its fingerprints on this entity quite yet. And the reason for that, I think, is that GM knows that there's this transition to electric, but they don't want to give up their existing car sales, so they have to pretend that they're not really in the business. They are,
yeah,
but they're not.
They have to fly under the radar of typical pickup truck drivers, right? If you have a Chevy driver and suddenly they hear that Chevy is making hybrid pickup trucks, I think that some of them, not all of them, but I think that some of them are going to be like, what? They're doing what? What?
You think they're going to be upset?
I think that some of them might be upset. I think that some of them, if they were like Chevy hybrid, might be going like, okay, well, if Chevy's moving to hybrid, maybe I should be moving to hybrid. I'll look into it. And I think when that person then goes to look into it, they're going to be like, oh, why would I choose a hybrid if I could get like the Bollinger B1 or the Rivian or the Tesla pickup truck?
I think GM is partnering with Workhorse here because they don't have the technology to make electric cars. And I think that I've always just assumed, big company like GM, they must know how to do stuff. They don't know how to do stuff that's out of their wheelhouse.
Right.
And I guess one good analogy that you brought up the other day was pencils and pens.
So, I mean, a picture this fictional history where it was pencils for all of history, right? And so the pencil industry started 100 years ago, and you have all these pencil engineers, and they're all working on pencils. And then all of a sudden, this new technology seems to develop, or one that was, we got rid of the quill and we moved to the pencil. But now all of a sudden, ballpoint pens are coming along. And so the owner of the pencil factory or the pencil company goes over to his engineers, and he's like, so guys, what's up with these ballpoint pens? Are we going to be making any of these ballpoint pens? And they're going, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any experience with ballpoint pens. I'm a pencil engineer. I've been making pencils my whole life. We've made some improvements. I'm sure you've seen the new number 2 pencil that we worked on. Big success. And these are similar items, right? They both fit in your pocket. They both write stuff down. But the technology there is completely different.
Right.
And so the pencil people and the pen people, those skills are not exactly 100% transferable.
No.
And so the pencil company might be able to go, okay, maybe we should find one of these smaller pen companies, grab some of their engineers.
And then we'll get their technology.
Because we can make a good-looking pencil.
Right.
Right? And a pencil basically looks like a pen.
And we know how to market it.
And we have all of these factories everywhere making pencils. I'm sure we could switch one of our shuttered factories over to the pen.
Right.
And now you see where the analogy...
Right. They need the technology.
Right.
And that's how they're getting it.
And what the thing that I just want to know is what this entity is going to be called. I know that
General
it's
Workhorse.
It can't be too close to GM, right? It's got to be...
Comment below what you think the partner
What
name
would
should
you
be.
want it to be called?
All right, so in Illinois, there is a proposed bill, HB 3233. It's in the state legislature, and that would raise the annual fee on EVs. Get this, Jesse. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's $17.50.
Okay.
What do you think they're raising it to?
$23.82.
A little bit higher.
Okay, $50.
$1,000.
You're going from $17.50 to $1,000.
Yep. If this bill passes, that would be the new fee on EVs in Illinois. Now, to be fair, this bill would also double the gas tax to 44 cents a gallon from 22 cents a gallon.
Okay, but
so it would
that's
affect
still...
ICE drivers too.
Yeah, it would affect it, but that is not the same thing. Because what you'd be paying a gas tax over the span of a year for the average driver, you'd be looking at from maybe, $120 up to, say, I don't know, like $220, $240 with this new gas tax.
Right.
That is a far cry from the $1,000 that EV drivers would have to pay. That's ridiculous.
Well, in North Dakota, there's a Senate bill, 2061, that proposes an annual road use fee of $110 for BEVs and $50 for hybrids. So keep in mind, though, that in North Dakota, well, just guess how many BEVs there are in North Dakota right now.
North Dakota, not that many people, so maybe 5,000?
141.
1,000?
Nope.
Just 141
registered BEVs in the whole state. Now,
so wait. That's $15,000.
Yep. If this bill passed, they would raise $15,000.
That's not even worth the time of them even talking about it.
I mean,
that's not even worth the paper that they would probably be printing all of the bills and stuff on.
I mean, so to be fair, I think that North Dakota has a better bill because $110 is about what you would pay for a gas car if you drove an average of 12,000 miles a year.
Right, because, let's talk about gas tax for a minute.
It's an antiquated tax, let's just be honest. Like, it's been around for decades, and it's how we're supposed to pay for our roads, bridges, and infrastructure in this country. I think it was the lazy choice, right? It was like, oh, well, we don't even have to see if people are lying. They just pay at the pump. Like, even if they lie to us about how many miles they drive, we'll get them at the pump.
Right.
So my thought here is we all benefit from roads and bridges and tunnels, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you never use one yourself personally, you get stuff delivered to your house, right? And
yeah. Or an ambulance.
Or an ambulance, right.
But wait a minute. But the gas tax, where does the gas tax go? Does it go to the road fund?
No. Well, it just goes basically into the general fund. I mean, I think supposedly accounting wise, they're supposed to put it towards stuff, but that's not what it does. And it's been woefully underfunded because we haven't raised the gas tax in, I think, 2 decades. So basically, it has not been covering the costs of our roads and bridges, because whenever they talk about raising it, they think that people will vote them out of office because Americans don't like to pay tax. So we have a system that's completely broken.
And that doesn't even keep up with inflation.
No, and so I think what's going on is they're saying, hey, wait, there's these EV drivers. They're a minority. We can just tax the crap out of them because they're a minority. Yeah, I mean, that's what's going on here, is that we have a system that's not really based on anything anymore. Shouldn't we just tax everyone a certain amount every year because we have access to these roads and they help us, and then tax based on the use? So, for instance, right now, if you drive, say, 10,000 miles a year, we know your odometer because you go for a state inspection every year.
Okay, so that gets recorded somewhere.
Right. So let's just send you a bill that says, oh, you drove this many miles times whatever per mile, and that's your whatever kind of car you drive.
But I mean, what if I don't own a car? I'm still getting tons of stuff, delivered from Amazon and Grubhub and Uber Eats, and I'm taking Ubers, and that cost is taken up by other entities, but I'm still taking advantage of the roads.
And that's why I think everyone should be charged a certain tax for the fact that we get to use these roads and that they benefit all of us.
Right.
And I just think we need to have a bigger discussion about this, because doing it this way is stupid. Giving EVs a set tax means you're either overcharging them or undercharging them every year.
This reminds me a lot of when we were in England, and you'd see a lot of these really nice houses with bricked up windows. And basically what it was is they at some point in time, I think it was the Tudor period, they were like, I know how we're going to tax the rich. Window tax. However many windows your house has, we will tax you based on the number of windows. And so they were just like, great, I'll brick up all my windows.
Or in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, they tax you on the width of your house. So you would build a really narrow, tall house.
Right.
It's really dumb.
It's that people can get around the tax structure. And here's the funny part, though. We're not buying EVs to get around gas tax.
No.
Okay, like there are so many better reasons to buy an EV than to be like, haha, take that, man. I stick it to you for not paying my gas tax. And I think that most EV drivers are fine paying for road use.
Sure.
I think that up until this point, it was like a nice little bonus incentive for you to buy an EV to be like, oh, and I don't have to pay gas tax, but I also don't have to pay for gas.
But I think that if you're going to charge a gas tax and put a fee on EVs, then you should also be thinking about the fact that ICE cars pollute.
Yeah.
So they should be charged a surcharge for the fact that they're killing all of us. It should be a killing all of us tax.
Right.
And EVs should not get that tax.
Right. Yeah. Again, we need to just kind of step back, reevaluate everything, and not just be plugging up these holes like, oh, crap, I didn't, when we wrote that tax back in the 30s or whatever, we weren't thinking about electric cars, even though, there were electric cars in the 30s.
Right.
You can't just be like, oh, we're going to keep using DOS, guys. Guys, we've been using DOS. We're going to keep using DOS. Don't you worry. And that's just a stupid way of doing it.
That's a great analogy, though, because for the longest time, Microsoft Windows kept being built on DOS. Like, they had to keep it going. So.
Right, but like, just DOS. It's like when you go to places and they still have, like, Windows XP, and you're just like, that's bad.
We just got it working. Well, I don't want to touch it.
We can't touch it. Like,
it's working fine.
It's literally that, except that's our government.
You just summed it up.
That's so bad. I know. Look, let's talk about something that's shiny.
Yep.
Let's talk about something that's
shiny and new. Okay, well, this is your story then.
Yes.
In Boca Chica, Texas, SpaceX team has been busy building a shiny new Starhopper and the new Starship. And I thought it would be good to just explain the difference between the two. So the Starhopper is just a test vehicle. Its only job is to just do short hops into lower atmosphere, just to test out things like the telemetry and the rockets and stuff like that. So that's being built right now. But they're also working on the newer Starship. And that's kind of confusing for a lot of people. I know it was for me, because Elon's gone through so many iterations. So here's a chart. So the tallest one there was the 2016 version of BFR, Big Falcon rocket.
Right.
And so that was the first idea, but now we've changed.
Right. Then we went over to the third tallest rocket, which was the first one that was called Starship. Mm-hmm. And now we're on that middle tall rocket, which is still called Starship. But again, it's a completely different design than the other two.
Yeah, it's got 3 fins, and it looks like kind of if a kid drew a rocket. like what you get.
Right. It's almost like the Tintin rocket.
Right.
And I think that, it's so cool that we have this company, SpaceX, that is putting out these different rocket designs and like narrowing down what they're going to make.
So fast.
So fast.
Their iterations are incredibly fast.
And showing people.
Right.
Like most of the time when you hear about a rocket, they've designed the whole thing and then they're like, then you might see it.
Right.
But it doesn't look quite as cool. I know that that's a stupid argument. I know that looking
Rockets
cool
are supposed to be cool.
I think that rockets are supposed to be cool.
Yeah.
Elon really gets that.
Yep.
And he really doubles down on it. Quite obviously here, all three of his rocket designs are cool in their own respect.
Yeah. Anyway, the cool news here is that according to Elon in this tweet, it looks like June 20th, we may be getting a big update as to what's going on with Starship. Because up until now, we've had to kind of just piece together based on different launches and different snapshots of facilities. So really exciting if we can hear something about that coming up next month.
I hope it's Star Hop. I hope there's a little Star Hopper hop.
I hope so.
It'd be crazy.
It would be. So according to Auto Express, VW has confirmed the name of its first ID model.
Okay.
What do you think it is?
It's going to be called
It's got to be cool, right? It's their first model.
the Shocker.
Ooh, I like it.
Take your pick of electric sounding names, right? Yeah,
Okay, you want to know what it is?
Yeah.
It's the ID.3.
What else?
No, that's it. It's the ID.3.
It's not like the ID.3 Escape or the ID.3
Escape, that's taken by Ford.
Shadow or the ID.3 Slinger.
Nope.
Nothing.
Nope.
That's just ID.3. Did you say the dot or is it the ID3?
I don't know, but everywhere I've seen it, the dot is there. So I don't know if you say it or not, but it's the ID.3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's now available for pre-orders in the UK for a £750 deposit, and it's expected to come out in the summer of 2020.
Great.
So the stats that we know so far is 260 miles of range and 110 kilowatts of charging.
Respectable.
According to VW, the starting price in Germany will be less than 30,000 euro for the base model and 40,000 euro for the bigger battery model.
Wow.
So the cool news is this came out for pre-order, and there are 10,000 plus pre-orders across Europe in the first 24 hours. So you know what VW did?
They were happy about it. They were excited. I mean, what did they do?
They limited the orders to 30,000 vehicles. They weren't ready for the demand.
So I'm trying to think, if you're like a business and you want to make a profit.
Yeah, you
and
want to sell a lot of your thing, right?
You want to make a car.
They're one of the biggest car companies in the world.
Right. So
I
why
mean,
would you limit it?
I'll
to
tell you
30?
why.
Okay.
They can't make them. They don't have enough batteries.
Okay.
Is my guess. Also, I don't think they really want to sell them because at those prices, I'm guessing they're just breaking even or losing money. Because I'm guessing, again, this is probably more compliance than anything else. Keep in mind that when the Tesla Model 3 was first announced and you could actually put money down, 232,000 were ordered in the first 24 hours.
Wow. Okay.
And Tesla didn't say, oh, okay, whoa.
Slow down. We're only doing 30,000, guys.
That's all we're doing.
Calm down.
So what VW said is they're going to call it the ID.3 first, and that'll have a 58 kilowatt hour battery, which is about 420 kilometers or 261 miles of range. And they're also going to give 2,000 kilowatt hours of free fast charging during the first year of ownership.
Well, I mean, at least they did what I wanted, which is the ID.3 and then something.
The first.
Okay. Fair enough.
They only had 24 hours to come up with the
Why
idea.
put the 3 in there if you're going to call it first? Why not call it the ID1?
Why put 3 in there if you're competing against the Model 3? Like, isn't that confusing? Oh, would you like to check out our 3? No, I came here to see your new VW. No, you mean the 3? No, you're the new
My
VW.
buddy has a 3. No, I think that they... Well, because, I mean, there's the i3, BMW's i3.
Yeah.
So
3
you
just
have,
must
you
be
have
a
the
very
Model
electric number.
Right, you have the Model 3.
Tesla didn't even want to name it the 3. They wanted to name it the E.
They did want to name it the E. I'm going to stop complaining about the name because that's semantics, whatever. Right. I'm excited about the car, but I would sell more than 30,000, please. Like, allow pre-orders for more than 30,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a car that you're going to make, so make it.
Yeah, they don't really want to make
They
it.
don't want to make it. That's the scary part, and that is why we're like super negative on VW all the time.
Right.
It's because they don't really want to make electric cars.
Right. I mean, they came up with the design that everyone's excited about.
Right.
The stats look good, and the price
stats
is
are
great.
good.
So,
I'm
like,
excited.
sell it, make it.
If someone tomorrow was like, Jesse, part of this reality TV show, we're going to replace your Model 3 with an ID.3 first, I would go, that sucks, but okay. Because honestly, pretty decent charging rates, pretty
Yeah.
decent range.
Yeah.
I mean, my car already has 260 miles of range.
Right.
Perfect. I can charge a little bit higher than 110 kilowatts, but it's not going to kill me.
Right.
It's just a matter of charging networks and availability of the cars. Can
about-
you get the car?
How about over-the-air updates? Does it have romance mode?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of other
Can it fart?
nifty features that I would want in the ID.3 ID.3 first, but overall,
I'm surprised that anyone signed up for it, honestly, because it's in the same price range as the Model 3, and it doesn't have any of the features. It doesn't have the supercharging network, doesn't have autopilot. So why?
This is for
it's not
Europe.
as safe.
This is for Europe, and that's why we saw a tenth of the people signing up, because obviously it's not quite as compelling. It's Volkswagen's first electric car,
Right.
So
I think it's a lot of VW fans.
I think so. I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to be negative about the car. It hasn't come out yet. I
Right.
can't be like, well, they didn't do anything about battery management yet, because we don't know
We don't
anything
know,
yet.
right.
So I'm excited about the car. But again, if they were just like, we're going to be making so many of these suckers,
Yeah.
you can just get one. That would be great. I'd be like, oh, okay, VW's on board. They're not. I mean, they're forced. They're forced by Dieselgate to put out car charging across the United States.
I think you just hit the nail on the head again. They don't want to be doing this.
It's just crazy.
But
It's
here's-
crazy. Why wouldn't you just? Oh, the world wants us to do this one thing. Maybe we should do it.
They don't want to do it. But the Model 3 has some good news. The Model 3 is back on the top 10 list for the United States. In April, they're at the number 9 spot for passenger car sales. Now, you remember there was a drop in U.S. sales for January, February, and March, basically because Elon had to ship cars to China and Europe. But even during this time, even the time where we're busy shipping them to different countries, it sold over 10,000 here in the U.S. in the month of April, keeping it on the top 10 list.
That's fantastic. If we look at the year-over-year numbers, you'll see that it was always growing.
Right.
There is not a single month where the year-over-year growth was lower.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is an important point, and I think that a thing that a lot of people missed.
Tesla took advantage, I think, of the fact that in December there were going to be great car sales here in the U.S. And then they knew that in January, February, March, sales would be down anyway. And that's when they decided to start shipping to Europe and China.
Right.
Great strategy. But yeah, I just want to point out, all these analysts are like, oh, look at your U.S. demand is way down.
Right. It was not the demand that was down. It was the supply that was down.
Exactly.
There just weren't enough Model 3s to like send to some guy in Idaho, because they were already, that car was on a ship to China.
So speaking of year-over-year growth with the car company, how do you think you achieve that? How do you think you keep getting customers to buy your car?
Advertising, probably the
Advertising.
easiest one, right? Because
Yeah.
then you have people excited about the car and they come buy it, right?
So let's take a look here. We've got Toyota's ad spending from 2007 to 2017. As you can see here, most years were over $2 billion they would spend a year.
Wow.
And let's talk about FCA, Fiat Chrysler. They regularly spend about $2 billion a year. GM spends about $5 billion a year. Ford over $4 billion a year. VW over $6 billion a year.
Wow.
Daimler spends $5 billion a year. And in 2015, Big Auto spent $47 billion combined on just one thing: advertising.
$47 billion a year?
Yep.
A year.
A year.
So you're telling me that,
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention Tesla. They spend...
right, so they must like $1 or $2 billion, right?
No. Tesla spends... zero.
Okay, $500,000 because they're a smaller-ish company, right? Yeah, $500,000?
Oh, well, actually, they're big.
Half a billion?
They're about as big as Ford and GM. But no, they spent zero. All those years. Every year that Tesla has been around, they've spent zero on advertising.
So like just not radio ads, but television ads they spent money on, right?
No ads. No advertising budget.
And yet they had year-over-year growth.
Right.
Okay.
Kind of disruptive, wouldn't you say?
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to point out for a moment, Tesla is the only car company that doesn't spend money on advertising.
You got it.
That I know of.
You got it.
But again, if they don't spend money on advertising, how would I hear about them?
Exactly.
But
They
I've
need
heard
crazy
about,
people like us to
But
talk
I've
about
heard
them.
about Tesla.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why people hear about Tesla.
Yeah.
It's because the cars sell themselves.
Yep.
Now, normally when we're talking about products that sell themselves, we're talking about like a Starbucks cup, right? You buy a coffee at Starbucks and then you plunk it down on your desk, and
I
then
see.
people at work are looking at your Starbucks cup
Yep.
and they're going like, "Oh, I want a coffee now."
Right.
And then they think about going to Starbucks because
Yep.
that's basically kind of like advertising.
Yep.
That's how products sell themselves.
Yep.
Tesla sell themselves in a different way.
Yep.
Sure, they might look cool on the outside, but what you also get is a lot of customers who bought the Model 3 or bought a Tesla going up to other people going like, "You have to try out my car."
Okay.
Right. That is a weird thing. That
Yeah.
doesn't really happen that often
No.
unless it's a crazy good product.
Right. Yeah, you don't see people going like, "You have to get into my Mazda."
You have to try this Starbucks. It's really good.
Okay.
That doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, no.
That is that is why Tesla doesn't need an advertising budget.
Right.
It's because their products are so good
That-
that customers want to advertise for them.
The crazy people start YouTube channels to talk about them all the time.
Right. What a bunch of crazy nut jobs.
Yeah. All right, it's time for the lightning round.
Go.
So, a Model Y was spotted at a charge point station in San Jose, California.
Wow.
That is news. That's how cool this car is, that it just gets spotted in the
just-
wild.
People see it. That's a
News!
news story.
What's actually even cooler is the car below it. That's the Tesla Model S that has a jib mounted to it with a camera attachment. I think our YouTube channel needs that.
Yeah, we need one of those. If any of you like have one just lying around,
Yeah.
give us a call.
So, Jesse, how would you like $5.2 trillion?
$1 trillion with a T?
With a T.
I would, yeah. I mean, because we could definitely buy a Model S
could
with,
buy
a
with
jib.
a jib on the
We could
top.
probably buy.
A couple of them. That number's so big, I don't even know what you can do
Yeah,
with that
it's
number.
really-
Like, that's the GDP of most small countries.
Why $5 trillion?
Oh, because that's what the IMF reports that global fossil fuel subsidies totaled in 2017.
So
In
you're saying
just 1 year.
in 1 year.
Global subsidies. That means what governments spend to subsidize fossil fuels around the world in 1 year. And that comes from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Where do you think that money came from, by the way?
So that's just from
From all of us.
everyone. It's the global GDP,
Right.
basically.
We all were asked to empty our wallets of $5.2 trillion and hand it over to the fossil fuel companies.
Because they're not making enough money.
Which they are. They make a lot of money
Yeah.
in profit.
Do you see how crazy this world is? If you just landed on this planet today and we told you this information, you'd be like, get me back on my rocket.
Yeah.
I'm getting off this
Get-
planet. This is
going home.
crazy. All right, we need some good news here.
Positive news. Here we
This
go.
is Made of the Mist. So visitors to Niagara Falls will be seeing the falls from 2 electric ships by mid-September, according to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Made of the Mist 6 and 7 were built in the 1990s, but they are being replaced now with all-electric ships that are being built in Wisconsin by the Berger Boat Company using ABB motors and batteries.
1.6 million guests every year ride aboard these ships, which will now be hydroelectric powered. They will recharge to 80% in 7 minutes after each trip.
So basically, you get on the ship, you watch the falls, and what you're watching is basically powering your ship.
Right.
I think this is amazing because 1.6 million people every year are now going to experience something which, up until this year, was a noisy, smelly ship, right? You're sitting there, and to keep still, the engines have to be running constantly, right? So you're just getting fumes all around you
Right.
as you try and take in this beautiful thing. Now, starting this year, it'll be quiet. And think about all those people who will now be getting onto other ships in their lives and going, wait, why is this ship so loud?
Made of the Mist was so much nicer than this one.
Now, every week we seem to talk about diesel scandals and companies caught up in it, and I thought maybe this week we could skip it, but we can't because Porsche was caught in a diesel scandal of its own by the Stuttgart Public Prosecutor's Office last week, and they were fined 535 million euro.
They're legally bound to pay it within 6 weeks, and this is for 99,000 Porsches that they sold from 2009 onwards, which were using Audi V6 and V8 diesel engines that did not meet legal requirements for nitrogen oxide emissions.
Now, the thing is, if we didn't have German viewers and awesome German viewers
Yeah.
at that, We would have never heard about this story because I scoured the U.S. Sites and there was nothing about this. This was only in Germany that it was mentioned.
And only in a German article in German.
Right. And if it weren't for you guys telling us about it, we wouldn't be able to report it today. So thank you. So we reported last week about a Tesla Model S driver who walked away from a deadly crash in Spain that killed the driver of the station wagon. Now to Norway, where Peter Holfin, a Tesla Model S 70D owner, walked away from a crash with only airbag bruises. And this is what he said.
The car has, without a doubt, saved my life, and Tesla's engineering has done its job.
So a car swerved in and then out of his lane, and when the car left his lane, he saw that there was a red van stuck in the middle of the road, and so he hit it, going about 85 to 90 kilometers an hour. And I mean, just look at the damage. But the whole front end of his car is a crumple zone. There's no engine there to get crushed into the passenger zone, and so he was fine.
If I got into an accident like that, I would be like lucky if I had broken my arm, my legs, a couple ribs, my face. Like if I just could be alive. Instead, basically, he just walks out of the car and like, huh, that's weird.
Now, I think so many people talk about what if there's ever, a death with a Tesla? Like there's been a couple Tesla deaths that it's going to affect the company. I think as more and more people hear about these accidents where Tesla drivers walk away unharmed practically, they're going to say, I need to get into the safest car in the world. Right. I mean, this is going to happen to all of us eventually, some kind of accident. We want to be in a safe car. Right. So Model X gets some new wheels. Check these out, Jesse. 20-inch two-tone Slipstream wheels for $2,000. Now, it's hard to see the difference between the regular Slipstream wheels until you look at these side by side. But then I think it's pretty obvious after that.
I mean, I'm enough of a Tesla aficionado that I could spot it right away.
Yeah, I'm not a wheel guy. I don't really care. Much about wheels.
I think these look nice. I think it makes the wheels look a little bit bigger.
It does. It makes the wheels look bigger, the tires look smaller.
It definitely looks a little bit more like a turbine design.
I don't know if it's worth $2,000, but okay.
I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
Some people are going to buy it.
That's right. So in 2016, when we started Tesla Time News, New York State set the goal of being coal-free by 2020. There are only 2 coal power plants left in New York, and coal makes up less than 1% of the energy production in the state of New York. Those 2 coal power plants, which are owned by Beowulf Energy, will be closing ahead of the deadline, and according to Bloomberg, they will become data centers.
Data centers. Well, congratulations, New York. You are finally off coal. How easy was that? Bingo.
So feedback collected from an Auto Trader survey of over 60,000 vehicle owners who rated their cars in 16 key metrics put Tesla on top and earned it the most loved brand.
One owner noted that a Tesla is simply better on every metric, considering its space, performance, tech features, and the fact that it gets better with age thanks to over-the-air updates.
Another owner described Tesla as insanely safe, feeling strong and controlled even on snow and ice. Particularly notable was an owner who stated that Teslas are great due to their environmentally friendly characteristics. It doesn't cause any air pollution. I can look my children in the eye and say I don't contribute to doing that.
I think that everything they said was very well put.
The Starmus Festival, which will be held June 24th in Zurich, Switzerland, just announced the 2019 winners of the Stephen Hawking Medal, which is one of the world's most celebrated science communication awards.
This year's recipients are
Elon Musk for his astounding accomplishments in space travel and for humanity.
Brian Eno for his contribution to the popularization of science.
And Apollo 11, a documentary by Todd Douglas Miller for its breakthrough look at history's most famous space mission.
So I think this is really nice that Elon is actually getting some recognition for all the hard work that he does. When I think that I do hard work and then I look at what Elon Musk does, I'm just like, how could I even accomplish what he has accomplished?
I mean, look at this next story, this tweet here. First 60 SpaceX Starlink satellites loaded into Falcon fairing tight fit.
And just to give you a sense of scale, he also included a picture of the Tesla Roadster in the fairing. On the right, it looks like a filing cabinet, like a full filing cabinet, like your father's filing cabinet, which is full of stuff. And then on the left, it looks like this. It looks like this. That's so many satellites, and they're huge.
And do you get that? So I mean, you know this, but it goes up into space, and then the satellites get shot off into their individual orbits.
Yeah,
that's complicated stuff.
You launch a rocket, and then you disperse 60 satellites into separate orbits. It's insane.
And they're not just random orbits. Mm-hmm. They're particular orbits.
Right.
It's crazy.
And this will all be part of SpaceX's internet provider service.
Right. All right, it's time for our video contributor stories. Who do we got this week, Jess?
We have our friend Bastian, who went to Nikola World.
Okay. So, okay, I want
The
to
trucks have an incredible turning radius
I want to see go
and the
up
upper
to
50 percentile range, which is the best in the entire industry. The driver has an incredible visibility from the front, being able to see his panoramic view around him, unlike any other truck, along with camera mirrors. Both of these trucks are equipped with powertrains of over 1,000 horsepower, 2,000 foot-pounds of torque, and I'm going to be quiet here for a second so you guys can hear how quiet this is as they drive by. Some of the things I think you'll notice here is the fact that there is no diesel smoke coming out of this truck, which is really cool.
So that was Nikola, the company that's making semi-trucks that are electric and hydrogen-powered? I think one of them was hydrogen, one of them was electric.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
All right, it's time now for the Patreon bonus stories. We're going to be covering, what has Elon ever done for us?
Is AP ready for the adult film industry?
And what's up with this bunny on the road?
All that and more on the bonus stories. Go check it out.
All right, we're back from the Patreon bonus stories. For those of you who are unaware, if you support us for $1 or more on Patreon, you get access to the Patreon bonus stories. And you might be saying, a dollar a month? I don't know. You're going to get roughly 4 Patreon bonus stories a month because we do this every single week.
Oh, and in each group of stories, you get a bunch of stories.
Yes.
So you're getting like 20 stories a month or
It's
something.
like getting another Tesla Time News as a show
Yeah.
where we're talking just to our patrons. It's really fun. I really recommend you try it out. You can try it out for a month, costs you $1.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd
Unsign up if you
spend
don't
like that much on a candy bar.
And we really appreciate it. It really makes the show happen because we have a lot of expenses. I mean, if you're listening on a podcast right now, we have to pay for podcast hosting. Like that costs money every month to do that. So
Right.
help us out and you'll really have a cool bonus. All right, it's time for our Patreon shout outs though. And this goes to people who give us $5 or more a month. Who do we got this week?
We have Dione, Ryan Kersake,
Mr. Current,
J.D. Miller,
Daniel Barnett,
Paul Suda,
Ove Anderson,
Lee Drake,
Hanu Havernan,
Sean and Maggie Bucher,
Ken Epstein,
Michael W. Smith,
and Brandon Coffey. Thank you so much, guys. You really make a difference. All right, it's time for Elon's tweets of the week, and he's been so tweety lately. So this one is from Tesla's Twitter account, but I thought it was from Elon until later in the week. I don't know. What are you thinking here,
So
Jesse?
what we first thought, we were like, a lot of kind of funny tweets on Tesla's Twitter account.
Right.
And I was like, oh, Elon hacked into the Tesla Twitter account.
Listen to this one. It sounds like Elon. The day we get GoldenEye going on the touchscreen is the day our global domination is assured.
And I was like, oh, that's totally Elon. But the amount of tweets coming out of Tesla recently in the past week has been astounding that I know that it's not Elon because he does not have this kind of time.
So someone tweeted, Elon said, in our testing, no production car has ever cracked 2.3 seconds from 0 to 60, but Tesla has in 2.275507139 seconds. And then they showed us this list of basically cars that have broken the different 0 to 60 times. And look at how expensive most of them are, except for the ones in red, which are Model S.
Right.
And
Model X.
And then Elon said, latest Model S is slightly faster. And then Frank's tweeted to Elon, are there still plans to drive from New York City to LA on full autopilot? And Elon said, we could have gamed an LA, New York autopilot journey last year, but when we do it this year, everyone with Tesla full self-driving will be able to do it too. I'm excited. That means that we can do it. I say as soon as he turns it on, we do it.
Regulation-wise, are we going to really be able to do it?
Well, no, you'll have to sit there and be ready to take over. But he means...
We basically already did that.
I know, we already did that. That's true. And then this last tweet here, Rick Strickland said, Elon, one of these days, you are going to be able to take a Tesla self-driving taxi through a boring tunnel to the LA Starship offshore launch site, fly and land at Shanghai, Tesla self-driving taxi through a boring tunnel to the Giga 3 factory, and back in one day. A ludicrous future. And Elon said?
Exactly.
All right, it's time for Community Mail Time.
Here we go.
Community mail time.
So this is a letter I got from Anthony in Las Vegas. He said, "Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm from Las Vegas. I just wanted to thank you guys for everything that you do to keep your viewers educated and informed. I've been obsessed with Tesla for a while now, and I've learned so much from watching your show consistently for the last few months. You guys actually partially inspired my senior prom plans this last Saturday. I was able to get my hands on a Model X to drive my friends around all night, and it was definitely life-changing for all of us. From the insane doors to getting to try out autopilot, all of us are in love. We were late to our dinner reservation trying to find a destination charger buried in the back of a parking garage, but it was so worth it. Plus, I think I've convinced my pretty stubborn dad to try out a Model S when he's looking for a new car. Here are 5 17-year-olds that have had all other cars ruined for them too early and our minds blown by a lane change using autopilot. Thank you for inspiring us and making us even more excited for the future." Well, thank you, Anthony. That was very nice. What a fun prom that must have been. And our friend Roberts in Latvia found one of the perhaps 19 Teslas in the entire country.
And I'd like to point out one of only 6 Model X's in all of Latvia.
That was awesome.
Congratulations. That's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a haystack.
I know. And Amber and Dan's new Model 3.
Check it out. Fantastic.
All right, for On Air this week, we're going to read off Steve K's question because we couldn't get a hold of him. But here's what he said. "Maybe this is more food for thought rather than a question. Autonomous vehicles are coming and certainly will change the car and driving habits of many Americans. What will happen to private car ownership? Some think it will disappear. However, while autonomous cars are a disruption, I doubt that that will be the case for a long time, maybe never. Autonomous Uber-like vehicles will undoubtedly lead to many people utilizing them for short trips, back and forth to work, maybe to close-by cities. However, what about long trips? When I plan a vacation where I use a car for transportation, I pack the night before so I can get an early start. Also, I want a vehicle that is comfortable to sit in for long periods with amenities like great sound system and perhaps video for the kids. Yes, these things could be provided by an autonomous rental company, but would they? Since many people would have used the autonomous car I rent, would it be clean and odor-free? Certainly, I can currently rent a nearly new vehicle for such trips, but the only reason I can do that is that the car rental companies can sell the vehicle when they are finished with it, probably after about a year of use. If people are no longer buying privately owned cars in the future, this won't be the case. As a result, the autonomous vehicle you rent will probably be pretty worn from lots of use and perhaps not as appealing for your vacation trips. The same could be said for short trips around town. So, I think there will be a market for privately owned autonomous cars after autonomous vehicles start taking over. People will likely still own a car, perhaps not just as many as was previously the case.
Right now, every car on the market is designed for consumers.
Right.
It is designed to sit there for 90% of the time. Okay? Unused, right? It's just gonna be sitting there in your driveway or sitting there at the parking lot at work, and that's it. It's just gonna sit there. And yes, you're gonna be driving it some, but the use of it is going to be limited.
Good point.
When we design other things, say a subway car or a bus for municipal use, it's going to be used 50 to 90% of the time, right? It's going to be in constant use. So the seats and everything, it is designed differently. It is designed to be as cheap as humanly possible and also stand up to the test of time as much as possible. So I'm not suggesting that, autonomous cars are going to be built like buses. I think that the cheaper ones are. But if you were going on a long trip and you wanted to go with your family, of course there would be services that would have autonomous rental cars that were specifically designed for car trips. Right? I'm talking seats that look out the side of the car so you can just see the scenery going past you.
Right.
And then it'll, zip around. Oh, wow, the scenery over here is even more beautiful, right? You'd have that. You'd have the seats that would be able to face each other.
Right.
So you'd be able to have, sit there and have a conversation.
Right.
Right now, cars are designed, again, to sit there 90% of the time. So the interior is just designed to last about as long as the engine of an ICE car. When we're talking about autonomous electric cars, you can put a lot more money into them because you can make a lot more money out of them because it's going to be used more of the time. It is not going to be a consumer product. So the interior of this car could be designed to be hosed down.
Yep.
It could be designed so that you just remove seats and put new seats in, or you'd remove seats and professionally clean them because it would be a service. Yeah. And yes, the interior of the car could be whatever you wanted it to be, and you could have an app that would, called Tripper, TRIPR, and it would be that you would take a long distance trip with your car. Very recently, we were in the Cotswolds in England, and we had a service, a little mini van service, where a guy was telling us all about the local area, and then he would take us to a cute little village. He would drop us off on one side of the village. He would tell us to walk through the village, and he would meet us on the other side. And that was fantastic. It was a great way to see a city, to just, oh, we're going to be here, we'll go over there, and then we'll get picked up. Normally, when you're on a road trip, you have to find parking for the car, which is stressful. So you're like,
Pay for the parking.
Pay for the parking, which is also stressful. It means that you don't want to go to the fun parts of the city because it just is so much more money.
Right.
And then you have to go back. You have to backtrack. Nobody likes backtracking, right? So now what you could do is have a trip where you're dropped off in one part of, New York. You walk, uptown or whatever. Then the car could pick you up and drive you off to somewhere else. Or you can be like, oh, we were going to get picked up over there, but I am tired. Let us have the car pick us up and drive us elsewhere.
Exactly. If there's a need for this business, then there will be that business in the future, and it'll be whatever car you want for that trip. It is hard to picture that there'll be no ownership of cars in the future. And I'm not saying that there will be zero. But it'll be a lot like owning a very fancy car today. You can do it if you want to, but you'll pay a premium, an arm and a leg for it, because you'll be paying for something that you'll just be keeping for yourself. And an autonomous car will be picking up lots of people, so its economies of scale will be a lot lower.
And they can be specialized. I mean, right now, if you want to go buy a sedan, you want it, 90% of the time I want it to drive me to and from work. But sometimes I want it to drive me across the entire country. Right. I want that capability available to me at any time. And so the car needs to be over-designed for what you need, right? You could be driving a smart car basically 90% of the time, and then if for some reason you could just magically have a long-distance car available to you, that would be way more efficient.
That's why so many Americans drive pickup trucks or SUVs. For that 1 or 2 times a year that they need a pickup truck, it makes total sense. But for the rest of the time, they're driving a pickup truck to work.
Right. If you just had an autonomous pickup truck, which would basically just be a bed that would just take your crap from wherever you start from to wherever you need it to and back, bingo. You don't need a pickup truck. It's a huge engineering compromise.
Right. And we see this today with Uber, for instance. If you want an Uber pool to save a little money and share the ride, you do that. If you want an Uber Select and have a pimped out cool car, you do that and you pay more.
But we're still relying on consumer cars.
Right.
Cars that are supposed to be designed for just the average person to own.
Right.
It wouldn't make any sense for you to own a long distance trip kind of car, right? But suddenly this sort of thing could happen because many people would use it all the time. It wouldn't just sit in your garage. It wouldn't be an RV that just sits out in front of your house and collects dust and rusts. It would just, you'd be like, okay, that was a fun weekend trip in the autonomous RV. Now that we moved all of our stuff out of it, it goes, drives, picks somebody else up. It could be a nicer RV.
Well, and that's what we were talking about the other day. Is like maybe your vacations wouldn't be you driving to a motel. Maybe you'd be driving in your electric RV, solar powered, so that you just live in that RV. The reason the reason we don't do it today as much is because it's so expensive to drive a gas powered RV because the gas mileage is horrible.
And they know that the RV is not going to be driven every day.
Right.
It's going to be driven once or twice a year
right.
to a camping location. It's going to be driven back. So it's designed just to be able to do that.
Right.
That's what we're excited about, is this sort of future where everything's specialized and it's all really good because of it.
Yeah. But to get to this place, you do have to think many steps further than what we're used to thinking about because there's going to be a big disruption happening.
Anyway, hope that answered your question, Steve. Thanks so much for watching.
All right, so we ran a Patreon poll this week. We asked, what's your favorite new Tesla over-the-air update? And I didn't even list all of them because there's so many of them. But it seems like the most popular so far was the Supercharger Speed Boost, which kind of caught me unprepared. I thought it would be something else.
Actually, no, it's Sentry Mode.
Oh, that's right. Sentry Mode at the top.
Sentry Mode is the highest with 89, and Supercharger Speed Boost with 69.
That's right. Sentry Mode.
Nice.
So it's time for good news, bad news.
Okay.
The bad news, we've heard it this week, I think. This report from the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, they found that nature is declining globally at rates unprecedented in human history, and the rate of species extinctions is accelerating, with grave impacts on people around the world now likely. More than 1 million animal and plant species are now threatened with extinction, many within decades, more than ever before in human history. It's easy to gloss over that and just be like, well, whatever, it's just bad news. they also mention people in there, right? So even if you don't care about the millions of animal and plant species, it's going to affect us people. But I found some good news. The First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, she said, "A few weeks ago, I met some of the young climate change campaigners who've gone on strike from school to raise awareness of their cause. They want governments around the world to declare a climate emergency. They say that's what the science tells us, and they are right. So today, as the First Minister of Scotland, I am declaring that there is a climate emergency, and Scotland will live up to our responsibility to tackle it." And as proof of that, Edinburgh has joined the Open Streets movement and will close the city centre to traffic on the first Sunday of every month to cut air pollution as part of an 18-month trial. And we've also heard that the UK and now Ireland last week have both declared a climate emergency also. So at least a little good news there that some countries in the world are starting to get it.
True. Climate emergency, it's great. Great name, great title. Let's actually do something about it. Now let's not just be like, hey, we did it. We declared it's an emergency. Yay.
All right, it's time for Supercharger reviews, and this is where you guys go out there into the world, find superchargers and destination chargers. You don't have to be a professional. Just tell us what you think about them, their amenities and so forth. Try and shoot it in landscape mode, and you can go to our website right here at nowyouknowchannel.com/supercharger reviews and upload them, because we're the only place that we know of in the world that has a map where you can see videos of superchargers and destination chargers.
Hey Zach and Jesse, I've been watching your show, love it. Just doing a little supercharger review on this one here in downtown Vancouver. Great location, it's very central to everything. It's right by the Vancouver Convention Center and Canada Place. And here, lots in the neighborhood. You've got Starbucks, Tim Hortons, there's some high-end cafes, ice cream shops, even like a chocolate cafe. Over at the convention center here, lots to see and do. You can sit and walk, go for a wander on the promenade here at Canada Place. So I rate this place at 10 out of 10. And there we go, looks like somebody coming out after a quick charge. That's where the Tesla Supercharger is.
Hi guys, I'm Sandeep and I flew to Italy from India a week ago, and I was on my way to Ferrari Museum in Maranello. I found this supercharger located right after exiting the toll gate on A1 Autostrada del Sole, the highway between Modena and Bologna. So if you're traveling between Modena and Bologna, this is a very good spot to charge your Tesla.
Hey Zach and Jesse, this is Kevin from Wisconsin reporting on the 7-stall Tesla Supercharger location in Estes Park, Colorado. The superchargers are located behind the historic Stanley Hotel on the northwest corner of the property. The Stanley Hotel was built in 1909 by F.O. Stanley, who is also the inventor of the Stanley Steamer automobile. You will find one of his automobiles in the lobby of the hotel.
See? Isn't that super cool?
Love it.
I want more destination chargers. I know that there's destination chargers in really cool places.
Yeah, there's
like
thousands of them.
Like really cool restaurants and really cool hotels.
Yeah. You don't have to go to those hotels
Right.
or restaurants. Just go show us the destination
Right,
chargers.
just, stick the camera in there.
Right. What are the new superchargers going online this week, Jess?
We have the 16 stall in Langkampfen, Austria.
The 20 stall in North York, Ontario.
Number 451 in Europe, the 6 stall in Dorno Est, Italy.
The 12 stall in Rohnert Park, California.
The 10 stall in Zionville, Indiana.
And number 638 in the USA, number 1529 in the world, is the 12 stall in Fairfield, Holiday Lane, California. Now, don't get confused, because there is another supercharger stall just up the road in Fairfield that went online last year. Now,
Interesting.
both sides of the road.
Oh, California, you just get whatever you want, don't you?
That's right.
It's the Patreon giveaway.
And it's time for our Patreon giveaway. We're going to be giving away this cool thing. This is a Falcon Heavy tapestry. Check that out.
Holy crap.
That is
moly.
big. We're going to be giving this away.
Hold it further back so they can see it.
Look at that.
All right, let's see. Let's see who wins.
Who's the lucky winner?
Oh, look, there's like some sticking out. I don't know. Is that cheating?
I think that's the winner
They're
right
very
there.
eager.
Yeah, pull him out.
And the winner is Lars.
Congratulations, Lars.
Congratulations, Lars. You're going to be getting this cool tapestry.
And it's from EcoWare. And yeah, we have all sorts of cool things on there. I mean, if you buy a tee, we plant a tree. It's to help support the show and to spread the word about all things SpaceX, Elon, Tesla, planet. Link is right there below.
Do you have to buy a t-shirt to get a tree planted?
All the orders, so whatever you buy in that order, we plant a tree.
It just, buy a pillowcase doesn't sound as...
No, it didn't roll off the tongue. Yeah, buy a pillow, plant a tree. You made it to the end.
You made it to the end. This is the end of the show. You did it. Congratulations.
We made it to the end.
We made it to the end of the show.
That was a long show.
Very long show. We had 10 regular stories, 10 lightning round stories.
And we should pat Bobby and Brent and Jack on the back.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you guys.
Patting you in the back.
Because, I mean, you know, we do this show like on Sunday. We're writing it in our jammies or whatever. Brent and Bobby and Jack, they have to wake up the crack of dawn before the rooster crows, and they have to get here and edit the show all together, the whole thing. Like, you watch this entire thing. They watched a longer version where I spent 2 minutes trying to think of like a thing to say during a particular part of the episode. I was like, what was that point that I was trying to make? And they have to watch through it and be like, make the point. Thank you. Cut. Next. You know, they have to do all that in a day.
Right.
You know, they say that Rome wasn't built in a day. This show was edited in a day.
Yep. And they have to put fun jokes in there.
And you might be wondering, like, Zach and Jesse, you always talk about your Patreon. Why do you keep pushing all of this stuff? Why are we paying you so much money? It's for them. It's for our editors. We need, you know, it's to pay our editors. Without our editors, our show would be trash. It would be garbage. You would not want to watch it. We wouldn't come out with it on time. It would be 2 weeks before a Tesla Time news would come out since we've recorded it. So all the news would be like 2 weeks old. You'd be like, Jesse and Zach, this stuff, I knew this stuff. My grandmother told me about this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
We are trying to be as close to cut the limit. You know, we're not doing a live stream because, again, I sometimes have a lapse in judgment for 2 minutes where I can't think of the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
So we have to do it this way with editors who cut down our show and make it fun and interesting to watch and add funny jokes and little things, you know, video
graphic
effects.
Things,
yeah. And we couldn't do it without them, and we can't do it without our Patrons.
No.
And hey, if you can't become a Patreon because you're like, man, my monthly budget does not allow it. If you have any sort of Amazon budget, you can use our Amazon affiliate link. As Amazon associates, we earn money from qualifying purchases.
Yeah, because a lot of people have emailed me and said, well, Zach and Jess, you guys have 100,000 subscribers now, so you probably don't need us because you're making a lot of money on YouTube. And YouTube, I just want to tell you, I've looked at the analytics, and for instance, last week's Tesla Time News made $60. And I mean, that's great. I'm not complaining. That's awesome. But it costs hundreds of dollars to produce the show. So you, as a YouTuber, and we're lucky enough to have you guys 100,000 plus subscribers. But even though we're pretty big, we've been doing this for like 3 years. That's not that YouTube doesn't pay.
Right. This is a very niche kind. This isn't what YouTube wants.
No.
Okay. They want what YouTube wants is like, oh, hey guys, everybody, today I'm gonna jump off the Empire State Building. We're gonna see how that goes, and then they make a video about it. They have a very clickbaity like jumped off the Empire State Building, and then you know at the end they're like, oh, I guess we can't actually do it, but I'm gonna go to a trampoline park. You know, that's what YouTube wants because that gets millions and millions of views, which means that gets them millions and millions of dollars in advertising, which means that they're able to, you know, pay that creator an exorbitant amount of money.
I mean, I was just, you know, we were just watching Emma Chamberlain, right? And she has, I think, 7 million subscribers, and she films herself making cupcakes. And that's great. She's totally funny. I love her.
And she's not great at making cupcakes.
No,
apparently.
she's not. Right.
No.
But with 7 million subscribers, you're getting, you know, tens of thousands of dollars to make those cupcakes, and that economy works. But like what we're doing, we just couldn't, like, I'm sure after a few weeks we would have just said, forget it. We can't. It's not that we want to be rich. Right. It's just that we need to be able to put the show out. Right. So thank you so much for supporting us because it really makes a difference.
We just want to remind everyone that you can listen to this as a podcast. Yeah. I know that not everyone has like an hour of eyeball time every week. to watch an entire one of these shows. And if you made it to the end and you're like, geez, how am I going to do this?
Well, and
next
again,
week?
thank you, Brent, because he has to take the audio from our show. He has to go edit it. He has to go upload it to our host, our podcast host, and which distributes it to, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, whatever. Like, that's another huge thing that takes hours of his time and work so that, hundreds of you can listen to it as a podcast. So thank you for listening.
And again, I just want to thank our patrons. You may have been wondering what all of these names were that are slowly scrolling past. These are our Patreon supporters who support us for $5 or more a month and waited for their Patreon shout-outs. These people, again, make the show run. They make
We did it
happen.
140 times. Jesse.
140 times.
140 weeks in a row.
Lightning does not strike 140 times.
Is there anyone out there who's done something like this 140 weeks in a row?
Every week at the same time, well, not at the same time every week, but has done something every single week. I mean, if this were a gym, I would be...
You'd be buff. Don't give him any ideas. He might just start going to the gym instead. That would be... We'd lose out.
I don't think I'd enjoy the gym quite as much as this, so...
And, if you wait till the end of the show, you're probably like, do you have any little tidbits for me at all?
Secrets?
I do want to tell you that when I was on the European road trip, we just did, I think, 12 episodes. That just came, the last one came out last weekend. There was one episode that we shot that I completely forgot about. Okay? Like, we shot it and we were just so busy, and it was one of the best things that happened on the trip. That's going to come out as a bonus episode this week. So stay tuned for something really cool that, we're just complete boneheads and we forgot about it.
Well, I didn't know anything about this.
Not your fault.
So
my fault.
I'm not the bonehead here.
I'm the bonehead.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. Now you know.